Thank you. Thank you very much. Today we're talking about decision making. I want to get right to it because there's lots of things I think we could have fun with. And let me just first make this point. This shows the schools of the university concerned with very different areas: business, engineering, medicine, law. These aren't the only fields in which decisions are made, but if you look at any of these fields, they all have to do with other things like record keeping or personnel, but the one thing I'm looking at is this horizontal slice that I call decision making. And sometimes I say if you took decision making out of each of these fields, what would be left? So imagine being a professional in business, engineering, medicine, law, but the one thing you cannot do is make a decision. You're going to do something else. That's going to be a pretty hollow life. So decision making is critical to our professional lives, but also our personal lives. Even if you don't find this exhaustive, everybody goes home every night and they make a myriad of decisions. Well, if you want to know what kind of decisions I'm talking about, it's all of those. Whenever I write something, people say, can you put in more business examples or more engineering examples? And I say, yeah, examples are great, but we're talking about something that cuts across all human activity, namely decision making. Well, where do we go astray in this decision making process? In preparing for the talk, I was fortunate that one of my sons sent me something he had found in Wikipedia, which was a list of cognitive biases, which is how we screw up in our thinking, basically. And so I looked at these, and on decision making and behavioral biases, they had 26 entries. I've got just a few of them here. The first one, and these are all documented by cognitive scientists, the endowment effect, the fact that people often demand much more to give up an object than they would be willing to pay to acquire it. I just think about each of these, because this is not about some other tribe of people that does this. This is us. The illusion of control, the tendency for human beings to believe they can control or at least influence outcomes that they clearly cannot. As we go through these, think about why we might have these built into us. The information bias, the tendency to seek information even when it cannot affect action. You've never seen that in your companies, have you? I think there's some CYA or something like that. The neglect of probability. Well, this is mother's milk here. The tendency to completely disregard probability when making a decision under uncertainty. The outcome bias. This is the most serious one of all. The tendency to judge a decision by its eventual outcome instead of based on the quality of the decision at the time it was made. Boy, this is the one you ought to take with you. I tell students in the class, after the shopping for classes the first day, we cover this, the distinction between making a good decision and having a good outcome very early. And if they have to drop the class or don't want to take it, just take this one thing away, because that's worth the price of admission. And it's out there in our culture. It's the most common mistake that people make. You can see it in sports. Sports are now, the team is it's a football team, and they go for the two-point conversion, and it doesn't work, and the commentator says, that was a bad decision. How does he know it was a bad decision? All he knows is it didn't work. That's the bad outcome. In medicine, there's this story, the operation was a success, but the patient died. That's not a joke. There may be operations that you should have, that even if carried out perfectly, may kill you. And it would still be, I've had some of these, would still be an excellent decision to have that operation. Finally, on this short list, selective perception, the tendency for expectations to affect perception. So the other 23 in biases and probability and belief. The ambiguity effect, the avoidance of options for which missing information makes the probability seem, quote, unknown.